Just a little bit of late start here. Our meetings this morning ran a little long, but we're going to jump right into any requests for bill introductions. Do we have any requests? None from back here? Any from the audience? Wow, okay. All right then. Well, we're going to move right into our agenda with Director Beavers with a overview on the ABC agency. Director Beavers, welcome to the committee again.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Debbie Beavers. I'm the Director of Alcoholic Beverage Control. Thank you for inviting me here today to provide an overview of our division. You should have the document that I prepared. Just as a reminder, our mission is to promote serve and protect the public health, safety, and welfare of Kansans by regulating the liquor industry, enforcing liquor laws, and other laws administered by the Department of Revenue. I provided an organizational chart here for you. We have 41 positions that are full-time, and we have one part-time enforcement investigator. Currently, the Assistant Attorney General and one enforcement agent positions are vacant. We do have 4 work units in ABC. We have administration, licensing, enforcement, and legal. Just to provide an overview of our division, we place a high priority on customer service. We like to be accessible via the phone or email, answer questions accurately, and provide excellent customer service. We also place a high priority on educating our licensees. We want to help them comply with liquor laws. We do relationship building. Part of that starts with almost all of our in-state licenses. When they're issued, the local enforcement agent comes out, does an educational visit, talks to them about laws, how to be compliant, and it starts a somewhat of a partnership with the licensees, so they know who their local agent is. You know, they know right then who I can call if I have a question. They can also call their licensing rep as well. But we do have educational visits. So we do them, if we can't deliver that license in person when it's in Kansas, then within 14 days, the agent does an educational visit. We also do educational visits on request by licensees. We also do provide education to local law enforcement and other industry coalitions. We do focus on compliance. We want to change the behavior of repeat offenders, and one of the ways that we do that is through education. But when we do an underage compliance check and the licensee fails the check and sells to an underage, then the agent will go back out sometime in the near future and do a secondary check, and the goal is to reduce recidivism and increase compliance. We also want to maintain a level playing field in the industry. We do annual inspections. We investigate 100% of all the complaints that were received, and we do stakeholder meetings as well. So we also place a high importance on efficiencies, and we've improved online services this past year. We implemented an upgraded system, so both for the staff and for the public, so licensees. We have eliminated 17 forms by this upgrade. And it has we've added more fillable fields. We've made it to where the system, when they log in to renew their license, they can see the information that's in there. They can update it as needed. We also added some new features. We added regulatory reporting so that licensees that are required to file monthly reports with us can do that online. They can also pay their gallonage taxes right there in the same portal instead of going to the Kansas Customer Service portal. We also have electronic submission is a new feature for the amendments. So if an ownership or a location is changing, it's called an amendment. We can now do that electronically. And then if we have additional requests, there's a communication within the system so they can communicate anything that is needed, and then they can submit those documents right there, upload them online. And so far, the comments we've received, it's been very well received with these changes. So that was a lot heavier lift than we thought it was going to be. It took us a little bit longer to get that system upgrade in, but it's working well. And then I just wanted to put a note in here about the THC-infused beverages. ABC did notify our licensees about the information that was released from the Office of the Attorney General and the KBI. ABC did not do any action regarding any THC beverages. We just provided the information, made sure that all of our licensees were aware of that. So I'll move on to our division services. We'll start with the liquor licensing. Our licensing, we have 10 licensing representatives, and they have a manager, and they process and issue all license applications and permits. They register each and every label of alcohol that is sold in the state of Kansas, and then they're entering the state CMB stamp information and logging those payments. Now, you might recall last year we introduced a House Bill 2376, which passed out of this committee, that would allow ABC to issue those licenses instead of the CMB licenses instead of the local city or county jurisdiction. And that bill also provided for a local license so that they would retain all of their revenues. So after that, we sent a notice out to all the clerks and let them know that we were going to revert to following the statute instead of the process that had been in place for many, many, many years, which is why we were struggling. So now the CMB applicant has to send their application and the $25 for the state CMB stamp to us. Then we review the application, enter the information, issue the new stamp. It's a newly designed stamp. And so any license, any CMB licenses that were issued with an effective date of October 1st or later have the new state CMB stamp on it. And this is, it's helping us to know where the CMB licensees are in a more timely manner, but it's also created a lot of walk-in customers. They come in, they want to take their stamp right out. It doesn't quite work that way, but we do the best we can, and some of them wait for us to process that. And so we will be introducing a mirror bill in the Senate this session. So our licensing unit also manages all gallonage taxes, so manufacturers, distributors, microbreweries, farm wineries, microdistilleries all have to pay the gallonage tax. The rates are there for you. The licensing unit answers a lot of technical questions and helps with technical assistance for licensees applying online. And then in 2025, 96% of all the applications were submitted online. And like I said, until late in the year, we didn't have an ability to submit those change requests, the amendment applications online. So look for that to go pretty close to 100% in the coming year. The next few graphs I have here are snapshots. We did these, I think, on January the 2nd. So we had 7,151 active licenses and permits. And that next graph has a breakdown of just you know, if they're permits, if they're other, that's the farm wineries, microbreweries, et cetera, liquor stores, and then on-premise. That's a breakdown of how they are. The next graph is the approved alcohol labels, and we had 63,223 active labels at the beginning of the year. Then we have a comparison for our off-premise retailers. So you have your liquor stores and then your CMB off-premise. We had 1,901 CMB off-premise. Those are like your grocery stores, gas stations, et cetera, and 736 retail liquor stores. We also had, on the cereal malt beverage on-premise licensees, we had 654, and then 2,891 liquor license on premises. The next chart we have is the CMB and liquor revenues. The total revenues for fiscal year 2025 was $30,957,492. Then the liquor taxes that are collected by the Division of Taxation are the liquor drink and the liquor enforcement taxes. And those collections were $144,039,979. So moving on to our enforcement program, like I said, we have 18 positions. One is vacant. And then we have 3 enforcement supervisors, and they are all commanded by a chief enforcement officer. And their priorities are protecting the public health and safety. They do inspections, they conduct investigations and operations. And again, 100% of all complaints are investigated. They do provide education to liquor licensees, industry members, prevention coalitions, law enforcement agencies, and the public. They also are doing specialized and proactive operations such as the Fake ID Task Force, Operation Safe Streets, Operation Safe Bars, and they focus on preventing underage access to alcoholic beverages. They also enforce the drug tax stamp, working in cooperation with other law enforcement agencies, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then one thing that we've always done, but we've just rolled out a new program, and we're for alcohol source investigations, and it's called Operation Bloodhound. And we do this when there's an underage person that is involved in an event that ends in either results in death or serious injury. We do an investigation to discover how and where they acquired the alcohol. So we're just rolling that out. You'll probably see a little bit more advertisement on that. Chief has been working with local law enforcement agencies, and so that's going to be a good program. And so in enforcement activities, we did 3,059 inspections in fiscal year 25, 401 new license deliveries and educations, and then other investigations, we did 835, and those include backgrounds, complaints, chosen control buys, some contacts, and special operations. Our underage compliance for liquor licensees, for fiscal year 25, we were 88% compliant. When we went back to do the secondary follow-up visit, there were 89% compliant, which means they didn't sell. Enforcement, retailer activities, we have done 549 of the random control buys. We did 106 chosen, those are the follow-ups, and then 62 other activities that we did. The underage sales for cereal malt beverage compliance was 90%. When we went back and did that secondary buy, it was 91% compliant. So our legal actions, we have an assistant attorney general, which is currently vacant, and a legal assistant, and then we have a program consultant. And they prepare the cases for the AAG. They process legal orders, fine payments, hearing dockets, et cetera. The legal assistant and the program assistant are also the evidence custodians for the ABC division, and the program assistant also does all the background checks to ensure liquor licensees are qualified applicants. In fiscal year 2025, we issued 202 administrative citations and 177 tax citations. We collected $108,200 in administrative fines for penalties and $128,625 for tax penalties. On the CMB front, we issued 69 citations, and we collected $34,100 in penalties for CMB fines. And then circling back to drug tax, like I mentioned before, our agents do enforce that tax. The local law enforcement agency contacts us for the failing to have the stamp on the illegal drugs. Our agents issue the drug tax assessments, execute the tax warrants, secure property from the tax violators to satisfy the drug tax debt. The Division of Taxation does the collections on these, and they established a $1,000 minimum for that. And in fiscal year 25, we did 53 of those drug tax assessments. Direct-to-consumer shipping, that continues to be a hot topic nationwide, not just in Kansas. You can see in 2025, those reports aren't due yet, so we don't have the December reports for shipments in there. That's why that number is slow. But Common carriers do report to us their known alcoholic beverage shipments, and then fulfillment houses send those electronic reports, and our staff then match those reports, and they look for overshipments because they can only ship so much to 12 standard cases to a person or address in a year. And then we also look for ones that don't match anything. And then, so they do work those lists. The only ones that are authorized to ship direct to a consumer is a winery that has a Kansas special order shipping permit, whether they're in-state or out-of-state. And the risk is when you order online from an unlicensed entity, you could get fake or tainted alcohol, and there have been people that have been very sick, die. So it's a serious issue, and also underage access is a very important issue. Kansas is an active member of the National Liquor Law Enforcement Association Direct-to-Consumer Work Group, and we're also working with the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, Laboratory, common carriers, and industry manufacturers to address these illegal shipments. It's a really complex issue all states are struggling with. And then finally, licensee surveys. We are focused on providing first-class customer service and maintaining a level playing field. We do 2 surveys every quarter. The first survey is to all new licensees that were issued a license in that quarter, and we focus on the licensing experience and the education. And then we do another one where we do 25% of licensees, and we focus on just general customer service and division services and regulation of the industry. And our overall results for 2025 were 94.5% positive. So that is the end of my report, and I'll be happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Director. I have a few questions myself, but before I get into those questions here, I do want to kind of take a pause and take a moment to thank you for what you do out there. Kansas takes a lot of pride in our departments, and 2 departments that we talk to a lot is a lottery office, and he was just up for, our director there was up for a distinguished award last year, and last June you were nominated to the NCSLA. Had a pretty good spotlight shined on Kansas for that. Could you tell us what that was a little bit?
Yes, I am the current president of the National Conference of State Liquor Administrators, and my term will end on June 30th of this year. It's quite an honor. I'm the third person from the state of Kansas to be the president of this national organization.
And being a part of that national organization, has that brought to light, or what has kind of brought to light maybe some like national issues that you're hearing, or concerns that you're hearing across the country when you're talking to these other administrators?
Yes, the organization is very beneficial because we get to talk to our peers directly. We build relationships, and I might be able to call a director in another state and say, hey, can we talk about this? But we all are facing a lot of the same problems, and when we get together and collaborate at these conferences and help solve the problems, or, there's no need to reinvent that wheel because, somebody may have it going, but then we just collaborate and we get good ideas. But it's a very beneficial organization.
Body, any questions? Representative Smo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always being so organized. I really appreciate that. I'm going to go back to the THC-infused beverages. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that ABC has taken no action. Is that, are we looking future-wise, are we looking to take action? And what would action look like on that?
Well, thank you for that question. That is a slippery slope. ABC's concern is because if they were convicted of having, an illegal product, they could lose their liquor license forever. That's why we're concerned, but it's not within our purview. So we're not taking any action, but we were compelled to make sure all of our licensees were aware of this information that was out there.
Thank you very much.
Representative Poskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks so much for being here. I reached out to you maybe 3 or 4 years ago about an issue that my constituent had, and your response was thorough and prompt and quick, and I really appreciate it. What it had to do with was she wanted to have non-alcoholic beer shipped to her home in Kansas. Eventually, she found a retailer that had that, but I've got a colleague who brought this to my attention that she has a constituent who is homebound and would like to have some non-alcoholic beer shipped. Have there been any changes in that? You mentioned the shipping license for wineries. Is there any update on that? And is that something that we might want to take a look at?
There hasn't been any change on that, so that would be something the legislature would have to take up.
Representative Birdcamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have you seen much increase in common consumption areas across the state, and maybe this next year too with the World Cup coming and even down the road, further development? Is that going to continue to grow in your mind?
My crystal ball is a little bit broken right now, but I think we currently had 55 when we pulled this report, common consumption areas, so they have gone up considerably. And I mean, my personal opinion, not the department's opinion, is you'll probably continue to see them grow. I think people like the idea of that, so.
Representative Wilcott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year, when you gave the presentation, I don't remember if it was at the beginning or not, there was some questions around the 100-barrel minimum licensing. I don't see any update in the report here. Can you give us kind of an update on where that's at and intended actions?
Yes, I can. The report that we gave last year on microbreweries, we had recommendations, but there was no action by the legislature. So the issues still remain.
Representative Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have there been any reports of any problems in the common consumption areas?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any major problems.
Representative Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for a very good report here. I do want to commend you on this. I see this license survey results as far as that you send to 25% of the people who have licenses to get some sort of feedback, and I think that's a really great thing. I don't know that many agencies that do that. I am though curious, of the 25% that you send, what is the response rate? I mean, what percent of those people actually respond so that you have their input? I mean, if you know, you can do it later. I know it might be a little too much in the weeds, but.
I don't know what the response rate is, but I can check on it and get it back to you.
All right, thank you.
Representative Hubert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I wanted to, even in recognizing her in her leadership position, I thought it might be appropriate just to give her a round of applause and honoring her. So.
Any other questions? So actually, when you were talking about, I have one. When you were talking about the list of citations and stuff, at one point I can remember, this had to be years ago, but those citations that were issued were always available or listed out to where we could access them. Has something changed there, or is there some privacy issues there where or maybe I just can't find them? I'm not real sure.
Thank you for that question. No, the KDOR records custodian won't let us do that anymore. So there is an issue, and I'm not sure what that issue is, but you're correct. It used to be out there.
Okay. I was guessing it was probably some sort of a privacy issue or something. I wasn't real sure. But good point from Representative brought up on the last year you did a microbrewery kind of an overview. Has there been any new discoveries that have come out in the last year? I know we had you do a report last year for us, but we didn't ask for one this year. But is there anything that kind of stands out that we should be aware of?
For me, the two things are the minimum barrels and then the taxation issue, that little nexus there. So.
Whether or not they're required to pay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Body, any more questions for the director? Okay, well, not seeing none. Thank you very much for coming back to our committee, and thank you.
Thank you.
Body, is there any other business before the committee? Not seeing any. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up, and I appreciate you guys coming today, and thank you. We're dismissed.